Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. All glories to our beloved speaker for today, His Grace Ishwara Prabhu. And all glories to Samad Vaishnavi devotees. Devotees, we thank you all for being here as always. Today is a very special day. It's special at the same time, quite serene, in the sense that it's the disappearance day of Srila Jiva Goswami, and we have an able devotee to share with us who this great personality is in our line of devotion. So, Sri Shara Prabhu, you are welcome, and all right, you may begin. Hare Krishna.
Jai Hare Krishna. So I just shared the link on the chat there about the
Okay.
song to the prayer to the 6 Goswamis. So it's
Okay.
very important prayer. Yeah. This prayer was composed by Srila Srinivasa Acharya, who was actually given training by Srila Jiva Goswami. All right, I'm just going to sing it. Krishna Ketana Gana Natana Paro Prema Mitambo Nidhi Dhira Dhira Jana Priya Priya Karo Nima Sara Pujito Si Chaitanya Kripa Bharao Bhuvi Bhuvo Bharavantarako Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyoga Si Jiva Gopalako Nana Sasra Vicharanaika Nipuno Sadama Samstapako Lokana Itakarina Tribhuvane Mayao Paranya Mayao Saranya Karo Radha Krishna Padara Vinda Bhajana Nandena Mataliko Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyuga Si Jiva Gopalako Si Goranga Gunanvanana Vido Shada Samridyam Vito Paputa Panikintano Tanubritan Govinda Ganamritai Ananda Buddhivadanaika Nipuno Kaivalya Nistarako Pande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyuga Si Jiva Gopalako Taptatuna Masensa Mandalapate Sreno Sadatu Chava Bhottadina Ganesha Karunaya Gopina Kantasito Gopi Bhavara Samitabdilahari Kalola Magno Muhu Banderupa Sanatana Raghuyuga Sri Jiva Gopala Ko Koja Kokila Ansa Sarasagana Kine Mayura Kule Nana Ratna Nivada Mola Mitapa Siyukta Vrindavane Radha Krishna Anisam Prabhajato Jiva Tado Yomuda Banderu Pasanatana Ragu Yoga Sri Jiva Gopalako Sankapuva Kanamagana Natibi Kalavasane Kritao Nidahara Vihara Keati Bijito Chaitanta Dino Chayo Radha Krishna Gunasmite Madhuriman Nandena Samohito Vanderupa Sanatana Raghuyaga Siji Bhagopalako Vanderupa Sanatana Raghuyaga Siji Bhagopalako Radha Kundata De Kalinda Tanaya Tire Chavan Sebate Premam Madhava Sada Se Sadasaya Grasto Pramato Sada Kayanto Chakade Are Gunabaram Baba Bibuto Muda Banderu Pasanatana Raguyugo Sijiva Gopalako Banderu Pasanatana Raguyugo Sijiva Gopalako Hira Deva Jadevi Ke Chalalite Enanda Suno Kuta Sigo Vadana Kapa Pada Patale Kalindi Bane Kuta Kusanto iti sabato brajapure Kedai mahabibalo Banderu pasanatana raguyugo Sijiva gopalako Banderu pasanatana raguyugo Sijiva Gopalako. So this is a very wonderful prayer to the 6 Goswamis. The translation, you should read it at your time. Otherwise, it takes so much time to read the translation. Gurave Gurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Ta Bhaktaya Namo Namahan Jnanatimandasya Gana Gana Salakaya Chakshusumalitan Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapita Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeha Sri Guru Sri Yutam Padakamalan Sri Guru Vaishnavascha Sri Rupam Sakajatan Sahagana Raghunata Vitatan Sajivam Sadhutam Savadutam Parijana Saita Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Parasahagana Lalita Sri Vishakavitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kanto Radha Kanta Namastute, Tapta Kanchana Gorange, Radha Brindavaneshwari, Besabanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Haripi, Krishnaya Vasudevaya, Devaki Nandanaya Cha, Nanda Gopa Kumaraya, Govindaya Namo Namah, Vasudeva Sutandevan, Kansa Chanura Madana, Devaki Paramananda, Krishna Bandi Jagaguru, Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Pistaya Bhutale, Simate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Chinamine, Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pracharine, Nibisesa Sunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine, Vanchakapatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Pateta Nam Pavanabhebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishna Ya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gora Tuse Namah. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadahara Sivashadi Gora Bhaktabinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Anandalila Maya Vigraya, Emabada Vichave Sundaraya, Tasma Maha, Premra Sapradaya, Chaitanya Chandraya Nama Namaste. Chaitanya Chandraya Nama Namaste. So I thank everyone. Okay, somebody is playing. Is that from me? That's somebody is playing. Is that from me or from?
I do not hear anything though.
What is this? This is funny. All right, some technical glitch. Sorry for that. Okay. So I thank everyone for being here this evening, my time, and your time, some of you in the morning and some of you in the afternoon. So I'm speaking from Sri Vrindavan Dam. It's a little bit of a winter time for us. Maybe it's not as much cold as some of you there in the North America. And of course, if you're in Africa, it's always hot. So it's always nice to be back with the devotees here on the Hare Krishna Africa platform. So many wonderful devotees have been tuning in for the past many years now, since the COVID. How many years now? 5 years now. So very, very unique situation.
Yes.
Okay. So today it's a very auspicious day because we are going to be talking about Srila Jiva Goswami. So there are 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, the famous one. Of course, there are more than, actually there are much more than that. But the famous one are the 6 Goswami. But of course, you have personalities like Lokana Goswami, Bhugava Goswami, who are the first Goswami to come to Vrindavan, who came to Vrindavan on the order of Sri Chaitanya Prabhu. But those persons, those 2 devotees, they were mainly like they are like associates of Mahaprabhu. But the 6 Goswami, they are of like disciple of Mahaprabhu, they are disciple of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which means Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Gopabhata Goswami, and Srila Jiva Goswami. So Srila Jiva Goswami was the youngest, of all the six. Srila Rupa and Srila Sanatana Goswami, they are the elders. So they came to Vrindavan. And Srila Jiva Goswami was the nephew of both Rupa and Sanatana. They are his nephew because there were three brothers, Rupa, Sanatana, and Vallabha, Anupama. There are three brothers, Anupama. Anupama was the youngest of all the three brothers, was the youngest. But these brothers, they were all very dear devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Anupama, because when they were coming, when Rupa Goswami and Anupama, they were both coming to Vrindavan. But on the way, Anupama, he left his body on the way to Vrindavan, so he passed away. But of course, before he left Ramakeli, at that time, he already gave birth to his son, and that son was Jiva Goswami. So Srila Jiva Goswami, as I said, he was the youngest among the six Goswami, and he was considered to be a disciple of Srila Rupa Goswami, but also nephew of Srila Rupa Goswami. So Srila Jiva Goswami will always consider Rupa Sanatana to be his Lord, basically. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was traveling in Ramakeli, because after taking sannyas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Jagannath Puri. After sannyas, he went to Jagannath Puri, and then after some time, the Lord decided to go to Vrindavan from Jagannath Puri. He decided to go to Vrindavan. Now, as when he was going, so he came through Ramakeli. Ramakeli is a village which is presently in Bangladesh. By that time, there was one India at that time, which was 500 years ago. So we're at Ramakeli. So both brothers, Rupa and Sanatana, they went to pay their obeisances to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then they took the baby. There was a baby. There's a baby boy. The baby boy was Srila Jiva Goswami. So the baby boy was taken to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu blessed this child. He blessed his child by placing his foot, placing his lotus feet on the child's body. And then the child was embracing, was rubbing, was playing with the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's a very, very good samskara. Very good. It's just like there was a devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This was Shivananda Sena. Shivananda Sena, he had a child. When this child, he was taken to Puri, and then Mahaprabhu told Shivananda Sena that he should call this child Puridas. And this child was actually, he put his mouth and sucking on the toe of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. And then this Puridas, this boy, then he grew up to be Kavikanapu. Kavikanapu, who wrote so many wonderful scriptures. So, Jiva Goswami, so he was born. He was born in the exactly 1513, 1513. Then, of course, today is his disappearance day. So he lived till 1598. So which means he stayed for about 85 years. And so when he was growing up, he never see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again. He never see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again because he was in Ramakeli as he was growing up. And of course, because his uncles, they were very, very wealthy. Actually, I'm talking to Rupa and Goswami, because Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, they were that time the employee of the King Hussein Shah that time. So they were extremely wealthy. So this boy, this child was raised in a very nice, good environment, which means everything was there. His education and all that was provided for. And then when he was around 20 years old, he's about 20. Of course, that time Chaitanya Prabhu had already left the planet. And then at that time also, both Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, they're already in Vrindavan. They're already in Vrindavan already. So when he was around 20 years old, Jiva Goswami, so he left his birthplace and then went to Nadia. He went to Navadip, which was the Mahaprabhu's hometown. So he went to Navadip. Of course, that time, because Mahaprabhu already left the planet, so there are some few devotees who are still there, like Vishnu Priya Mataji. Sachimata was still there. Nityananda Prabhu was also there. So Jiva Goswami, so he paid his obeisances, his worship of all these great personalities. And Nityananda Prabhu was very, very merciful to Jiva, was very, very affectionate to Jiva. So Nityananda Prabhu himself, so he took Jiva on a pilgrimage tour of Nadia, of Navadip Mandal. So if you want to read, you can read more of his biography in the Bhakti Ratnaka. Bhakti Ratnaka is a very wonderful book. Bhakti Ratnaka is a book that describes so many devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bhakti Ratnaka. There are other books also. There's one book called Prema Vilas, which I published myself. This also gives some information about some of the activities of Jiva Goswami. So Nityananda Prabhu he took Jiva on a tour of Navadip and the Brahma. He described every place which has to do with the activities of Sri Chaitanya Prabhu, and especially the Sankirtan movement. And then, after being given a tour of Navadip, and then Nityananda told Jiva Goswami that because Jiva Goswami, he asked Nityananda that he want to stay with him. He asked Nityananda Prabhu that he want to stay with him. But Nityananda said, no, Vrindavan has been given to your uncles. So you should go to Vrindavan and join your uncles in Vrindavan. But before that, you need education. You need to complete your education before that. So therefore, first go to Kashi, which is Varanasi, and go and study the Sanskrit, grammar, the Vedas, and all that. So you go and study. Under Madhusudan, there was a student of Sabon Bhattacharya. His name was Madhusudan Vachaspati. So you go and study under him. And then when you complete your study, then you can proceed to, you can go to Vrindavan. So Jiva Goswami, he followed this instruction of Nityananda Prabhu, because he was a young man, 20 years old, so it's a very fresh time to study. So he went to Kashi in Varanasi, and he was there for a few years. He studied deeply. He studied all the scriptures, all the darshans. The darshans mean there are 6 darshans in India. 6 darshans, these are the 6 philosophical understandings, which has to do with Vaisesika, Patanjali, Kamamamsa, yoga, and then the Vedanta, and also the teachings or the 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas, which deal with the Ramanujacharya, Madhavacharya, Nibbānkaracharya, and also Vishnu Swami, along with also Adi Sankaracharya. Adi Sankaracharya is actually, even though Adi Sankaracharya supposed to be the guru of the Mayavadi, but Adi Sankaracharya was actually Lord Shiva himself. He was the incarnation of Lord Shiva. So, and the devotees, they have a very, very high appreciation for Adi Sankaracharya because he's incarnation of Lord Shiva. And normally, to be a Vaishnava preacher, you have to know the philosophy of Sri Sankaracharya. You have to know, in order to be a preacher in Kali Yuga, because in order to defeat the Mayavadis, you must know their philosophy in order to defeat them. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta also did the same thing also. When he was studying, he studied all these various teachings of all these various acharyas. So Sri Jiva Goswami, he studied the Sanskrit grammars, everything. So he became a very, very highly learned person, very, very super learned person. As a matter of fact, it was described that Jiva Goswami is so highly learned that he was compared to Brihaspati. Brihaspati is the guru of the demigods. He was such a highly learned person. So after he completed his training, and then he proceeded to Vrindavan. So when he arrived in Vrindavan, so he took shelter of his uncles, in this case, Srila Rupa and Srila Sanatana Goswami. Those are his uncle. And he was serving them, especially Srila Rupa Goswami, he was serving them very, very intimately, giving service. And then on the indication of Srila Sanatana Goswami, so Srila Rupa Goswami gave initiation to Jiva Goswami. So Srila Rupa Goswami was the guru of Jiva Goswami. But not just guru, but also the uncle. But really, normally the material relationship, it normally doesn't give so much consideration. What really matters is the spiritual relationship. Just like here in India, it's very, very common among many devotees. Many devotees, when they take initiation, after they take initiation, and they always put their surname as the guru. Their surname become the guru. You find many devotees, they have their name, and their surname will be the particular guru. When you look at their passport, say, "Oh, I'm so and so." Okay, who's your father? So and so, Lokana Swami, or this same Swami, that's Swami. It's very, very common. It's very common thing. So which devotees, they give up the so-called the temporary material relationship, but instead adopted what is much more value relationship. In this case, the real father is the guru, the one who give you spiritual initiation. He mentioned that one takes three births that one takes. Is that Pavitra? One is the Jagnika Pavitra. So do you have one birth which was given by your parents, another birth is given to you by the guru, and another birth then given by when you actually take. It's called Upayanam, which means the time when you confer a special kind of initiation, which kind of like a Brahminical initiation. Not just ordinary Brahmin initiation. It's actually very high aspect. It's called Upayanam. So it's like Jiva Goswami. His guru is Srila Rupa Goswami in this way, and then he got all his he got all his spiritual education, everything, all the teachings of Srila Rupa Goswami. He was given all the teaching, and also he will also assist. He also assisted Srila Rupa Goswami in his writing, because Srila Rupa Goswami wrote so many scriptures. So many scriptures that Srila Rupa Goswami wrote, like Lagu Bhagavatamrita, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Ujjwala Nilamani, and all that. So Srila Jiva Goswami will always assisting Srila Rupa Goswami in all this in all this writing. So he was assisting. So eventually, then Srila Rupa and Sanatan, they left the planet. They disappeared from the world. They left the planet and went back to Goloka, where they came from. So after the disappearance of Srila Rupa and Sanatan, so that time Jiva Goswami, because of his immense status, being very highly elevated Vaishnavas, very highly elevated, very, his qualification was so immense. So he became the leader of the Gaudiya Vaishnava society. He became the leader of the Gaudiya Vaishnava community. So there was the Radha Damodar temple, whereby he was using the Radha Damodar temple, which is there now. You come to Vrindavan, Radha Damodar temple is there. That was like a Bhajan Kuti. That's actually the place of Srila Jiva Goswami. And it's also the place that was used as a university, the University of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And Srila Jiva Goswami was a professor, and everyone will come and take the training from him. So some of his prominent students, they are great. The personality of Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivas Acharya, Shyamananda Pandit, those are his prominent students. And after giving this, especially these three personalities, after giving them training, after teaching them nicely, all this philosophy of Vaishnavism, and these three persons were ordered by Srila Jiva Goswami to go and distribute the Acharya's books. So and then Srila Jiva Goswami, he wrote many scriptures. As they say, his pen never stopped writing. He was said to have written more than 400,000 verses. More than 400,000 verses that he said to have written. So which means he wrote more than Vyasadeva himself. Because Srila Vyasadeva, yes, he wrote Mahabharata, which is 100,000 verses. And then some Puranas, Upanishad, but Srila Jiva Goswami wrote more than 400,000 verses. That's a lot. And many of his scriptures, which what we are studying today, books like the prominent ones are the Sandarbhas. There are 6 books. These are called the Sandarbhas. I will go through that as I go through his teachings. I will go through the Sandarbhas, which means you actually, if you really want to understand the philosophy of Christian consciousness, and if you want to be a preacher, you have to study the Sandarbhas. There are 6 of them. And the Sandarbhas is but his thesis, the theological, the understanding of Srimad Bhagavatam, because it's based on the Bhagavatam. So you have to study the Sandarbhas. Now, of course, now in ISKCON now they started some outfit. So they started teaching the Sandarbhas now in some outfit. But it's and of course we've now some more books have been translated of the Sandarbhas. So we're having them. So they are available to study. But in order to understand the Sandarbha, it's not that you can't just pick up the book and be reading it by yourself, because you read it by yourself. You need a teacher. You need somebody to teach you. Which means you have to study Sandarbhas under the guidance of learned devotees. You have to study under the guidance. So and then Srila Jiva Goswami, he was so he became the undisputed teacher. Now, before I get into his teaching, there are some things to show us in terms of seeing the Guru as the most absolute personality. So one time there was it was Srila Vallabhacharya, who was an acquaintance of Srila Rupa Goswami. So he had come to Vrindavan. And visited Srila Rupa Goswami. So, and then, because they were acquaintances together, so Srila Vallabhacharya asked Rupa Goswami about what book is writing. What book is writing now? And then Srila Rupa Goswami showed him the book is writing. And there's one particular verse in one of the book. The verse, which is what is that? Bhukti Mukti's Priya Pisachi. Bhukti Mukti Priya Pisachi. That as long as one is affected, one is infected with the witches of Bhukti Mukti. Bhukti means materialistic aspirations, materialistic enjoyment, desire for bhukti, and desire for gyan, which means the dry knowledge. So, so as long as one is infected with these two things, with these two witches, then there's no question of developing bhakti. Bhakti is not possible to develop. So, but this word of witches that was put in this verse, it was not agreeable to Srila Vallabhacharya. Wasn't agreeable to him. So he told Srila Rupa Goswami that, oh, this is not good. This is not a good way to describe this. So Srila Rupa Goswami, he did not argue with him. He said, okay, if you said so, I accept if you said so. And then, so this information got to the ears of Srila Jiva Goswami, that he had faulted the writings of Srila Rupa Goswami. So Srila Jiva Goswami, because of his very high sound, philosophical understand everything. So through the scriptural philosophical points, he actually showed that it was Shiva Labhacharya himself who is wrong. So he actually defeated Shiva Labhacharya. So, and then Vallabhacharya, then he told Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami that, oh, your disciple actually defeated me. So therefore what you say was correct, what your writing is correct, because your disciple, Jiva, he defeated me. So, and then, so Srila Rupa Goswami was not happy with this. He wasn't happy that Jiva had corrected had challenged, not correct, had challenged Vallabhacharya, because Rupa Goswami considered Vallabhacharya to be his guest. So why will you challenge a guest who has come to visit you? So because of this, Srila Rupa Goswami told Jiva that, well, because you dare to do this, so therefore you're not fit to stay in Vrindavan. And so you should leave Vrindavan. You should leave this place, leave Vrindavan. So Jiva Goswami, he had to leave Vrindavan. He was banished from Vrindavan. So as he was banished to Vrindavan, so he went to one place, I think this is near Kamyavan, I think it was Kamyavan. So he went there, and then he was in a cave. He went to stay in a cave, and then was simply crying there now because he was banished from the association of the Vaishnavas from Vrindavan. So he went to inside the cave, and he was crying. He was not eating any food. He was crying day and night, simply lamenting how he could not be in the association of Rupa and Sanatan and the Vaishnava. So one day, Srila Sanatana Goswami, he was going around. Normally, he goes every morning and do Madhukari. And Srila Sanatana Goswami, he went to this village where Jiva had gone to, where he stayed in a cave. And then the villagers, they told Sanatana Goswami that there is one Baba here, there's one Babaji here, who a very young Babaji had come. And this Babaji is simply crying for Krishna, hey Radhe, crying day after day. This Babaji is crying, Babaji should see him. So when Sanatana Goswami, when he heard the description of this Baba, young Baba, so he knew that, oh, this must be Jiva. So Sanatana Goswami went to the place, and he saw Jiva, and he saw that it was becoming, his body was dirty because it was not even bathing, it was not eating, his body has become skinny, his body has also become infected with diseases and all that because he was simply staying in the cave, not eating and not do anything. So Sanatana Goswami then took him, and then took him back to Vrindavan. So when he took him to Vrindavan, and then he asked Rupa Goswami that, my dear Rupa, what's our first duty to Jiva? What is our first duty to a Jiva? Jiva means living entity. So Rupa Goswami said, well, our duty to Jiva is Daya. Daya means compassionate. That's our first duty, is Daya. So, and then Sanatana said, well, if our duty to Jiva is Daya, hey, but this Jiva here, you've cast him out. Why not you show your mercy to him? So Rupa Goswami, became very very soft, and then he brought back Jiva, and then put him on his lap, and then he nourished him, and then after a few days, he was able to recover from his body becoming weak, his body becoming infected with diseases and all that. But the point is that it's not that because there are two things: the principles of Guru being the absolute. So it's not that Jiva Goswami, it's not that he was wrong in defending, in challenging Balabhacharya, to show him that, yes, it's you who is wrong, not my Guru, Rupa Goswami. It's you who was wrong. So, this principle need to be stated. So, but at the same time also, because of the principles of humility, tolerance, how a devotee has to always be tolerant, has to be very, very humble, will never challenge anybody. So because of this principle, this has been the reason why Rupa Goswami said that, oh, you're not humble, so therefore you cannot stay here. So get out of Vrindavan, because you are violating the principles of Vaishnavism, which is being humble like that. But at the same time, so in one sense, one thing the Guru said, you're supposed to be humble, and the disciples say, I have to defend my Guru. So in this way, it's right, So these are some of the very subtle things that one has to understand in spiritual life, that one has to understand. So, in the life of Srila Jiva Goswami, there were many, many events in his life, and especially because he became the leader of the Vaishnavas after the disappearance of Rupa Sanatana Goswami. So he became the leader of the Vaishnavas. So now I will get into his teachings, because that's the most important, because how do we study the great personalities? It's not that we want to study about them because they are saints, but we want to know what they are saintly persons, what really make them great, and what are they giving us? What are they giving us that want to make us take off the practice of Krishna consciousness? We say particular Guru is great because of his teaching that he has given us. So, Srila Jiva Goswami, as I said earlier, that he wrote so many, many books, many, many literature he wrote. And the primary ones are like the Sandarbhas. There's the Gopal Champu. Gopal Champu is a very wonderful book, Gopal Champu. It's all about Krishna, the pastimes of Krishna and Vrindavan. Now, when Srila Jiva Goswami was teaching, in Vrindavan that time, there are different classes of Vaishnav. Some of them are very orthodox. Some orthodox Vaishnav, some of them, they had a view that the whole idea of Parakya Ras is it's not good. They're not appreciative that how someone, like, especially, we know that when we hear about the gopis, they have a Parakya Ras with Krishna. They were ladies who are married to others, but every night they will go out of their house and be with Krishna. Parakya Ras, which means the paramour, this paramour relationship. So this paramour idea, this is called a Parakya Ras. So there are some circles who do not appreciate Parakya Ras. So they appreciate Swakya Ras. For example, Krishna and Dwaka are married to queens, Rukmini, Satyabhama, Mitravinda, Jambavati, Kalindi, and also, 16,000 on their wife. So they say, oh, if you want to worship Krishna, you worship Krishna of Dwaka, but not Krishna of Vrindavan. Because Krishna of Vrindavan was just like a playboy. dealing with so many young ladies. Some of them even married ladies. And Boras Krishna Dwaka, yes, is the righteous one, the righteous Krishna. Is the moral Krishna. He spoke Bhagavad Gita, many things. Is the well-wisher of his devotees, like this. So many persons, they will prefer that. And even they even say that, oh, actually, this whole idea of the gopis or the or Radharani or the Saki, this is something that is invented by the Vaishnavas. This is something, invention of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So Srila Jiva Goswami, he had to deal with this in Israel. He had to deal with this. Now, he had many followers, many students. So Srila Jiva Goswami, what he did was that he actually espoused two principles, both of them, both Parakyaras and Swakyaras. And Srila Jiva Goswami says that in reality, the gopis, they were married to Krishna. They were not just girlfriends, they were actually married to Krishna, the gopis of Vrindavan. As a matter of fact, there's one book called Madhava Mahotsav. It's a book describing Krishna's marriage with Srimati Radharani. This book written by Srila Jiva Goswami, of course. And also Gopa Champu is a very wonderful scripture. Gopa Champu is, if you start to get this book, Gopa Champu. And this book, which describe all Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, Krishna is from his birth, everything. And the book describe how when all the young girls of Vrindavan, when they were becoming, when they were growing up, so their father, their parents, they only want one person to be the husband of their daughter. They want only one person. Only one person. That person is the son of Nanda Maharaj, Krishna. So all the parents of these gopis, there are many gopis. We're talking of thousands and thousands of them. So everyone was actually praying, was actually, doing meditation so that they can get there, so that their daughter can be married to Krishna. But Purnamasi, who was the Yogamaya, Purnamasi, Purnamasi is the one who facilitated Krishna's pastimes. And Purnamasi is the lady who want Krishna to release special ras. She wants Krishna to release special ras, whereby how the lover has to always be in. There's so many affairs that are involved in lovers and the beloveds, many affairs that is there. So Purnamasi, she discouraged the men of Vrindavan that no, this marriage should not take place. Outwardly, that this marriage should not take place because Krishna will have a different relationship with these young girls. Krishna will have a different relationship with them. So the Gopa Champu was written in such a view that in reality, Krishna married all the gopis, in reality. But the same way, the way the Gopa Champu written, Purnamasi played the fact that but made it appear as if Krishna did not marry the gopis. So in one sense, the idea of Parakyaras and Swakyaras, they were both espoused in this writing. They both espoused in this writing. So that those devotees who favor Swakyaras, they are happy. And then those devotees who only favor Parakyaras, they are happy. So everybody gets what they want. But it doesn't mean that Srila Jiva Goswami deviated from the conclusion of his uncle, Srila Rupa and Sanatan, because Srila Rupa and Sanatan, all their writing is all about Parakya. When you read many wonderful books, for example, in the Bhagavatamrita, in the Braj Lila section, it's all about Parakya. And also like Rupa Goswami, he vividly described the Parakya, especially when you read the Ujjwala Nilamani. It's such a wonderful scripture. It's very esoteric, deeply, which is in the deep divine love of God. The what goes on in the in the eternal rasa of Krishna, the Radharani, Krishna and the gopis, and different moods and different aspirations, different expectations, different condemnations, all these things, all described in the Ujjwala Nilamani. Very exceptional scriptures. And this book, this is considered to be the postgraduate study of Krishna consciousness. It's not a book that is meant for a neophyte, because a neophyte will not understand it. So it's meant for those postgraduate study. So it's not that Srila Jiva Goswami he deviated from the conclusion of his superiors, Srila Rupa Sanatana, but he had to, because certain people, in order to pacify certain persons, so he espoused this idea of Saukya-ras, but his conclusion had always been Parakya-ras. That's always been his, his conclusion. So the true followers of Srila Jiva Goswami, they will understand this. The true follower of Srila Jiva Goswami. So in his writing, the whole idea of in his teaching, like first of all, his teaching is thoroughly grounded in Srimad Bhagavatam. The whole base of it, actually all the Vaishnavas who have written so many books, but the prime authority of all the Vaishnavas' book is Srimad Bhagavatam. As mentioned, as it said that Srimad Bhagavatam, Purana Amana Vaishnava Priyam. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the oldest, is the very dear to the Vaishnava, dear to the Vaishnava. And Bhagavatam is called Paramahansa Samhita. So his writing is based on that. And then the teaching of Mahaprabhu's teaching, which is Achintya Bheda Abheda, which means the oneness and difference, the philosophy of one and oneness and difference, how the Jiva is one with Krishna, but different also. One and just like the sun and the sun rays. The sun and the sun rays are the same, but the sun rays is always different because the sun rays not the same, they do not have the same quantity as the sun itself. And then the understanding of the three features of the absolute in terms of when you read in the Tattva Sandarbha, there's it's a scripture that's dealing. This is written by Jiva Goswami. Now I'm talking about the writings of Jiva Goswami now. So in the Jiva Goswami, in the Tattva Sandarbha, the explanation of the Brahman, Paramatman, and Bhagavan, the three features of the absolutes, and also the entire Bhagavad Sandarbha. It's all about, so there's this verse in the Bhagavatam which says, Vadanti Tattva Veda, Brahma, Vadanti Tattva Veda, Brahmativad is a Advayan, what is that? Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavati Sabdhate. So which means the Vadanti means they say. Vadanti means they say. Who says? Those, the Tattva Veda, the seers of the seer of the absolute, the seers, those who understand, who have insightful knowledge of the scriptures, they say that there are three features of the absolute truth. This is Brahmans, Paramatman, and Bhagavan. So which means it's like three aspects of God. Same God, but in different aspects. But in Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So this is widely proven in the writings of. So of course, when you study Bhagavatam, that verse is then in the Bhagavatam. So, and then of course, in order to understand that yes, Krishna is to Bhagavan Swayam, that Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. So through rigorous analysis of the scriptures, it proved that yes, Krishna is the supreme God, is the supreme Lord. So which means we don't just say that Krishna is God for out of sentiment only. There's a sound philosophical basis. There is one verse. We said, is that Veda? Vede Ramane Chaiban Purane Bharate Hado Adyacha Madyacha Hari Sabatagiyate. So he said that in the Vedas, in the Ramayana, in the Mahabharata, in all the Vedas and all that, what is said, what is to be glorified, only the Lord is described. So which means you can read all the scriptures, so many of them, but only one point, just the description of that supreme Lord, that self-same Lord, that is being described. So so because of Srila Jiva Goswami's writing, it brought immense respectability to the Gaudiya Vaishnavas movement because of his, and that's his writing provided a unique gift. His writing provided the most unique gift to the longevity and intellectual respectability of the Gaudiyas. The Gaudiya writing. So the Sandarbhas, they call it Sat Sandarbha. Sat means 6. And Sandarbha simply means the thesis. So like when you go to university, you study your PhD. So there are many theses you're supposed to be learning, and you're supposed to write a thesis and all that stuff. So Srila Jiva Goswami wrote 6 theses, philosophical theses, on Bhagavatam. It's all based on Bhagavatam, which means on the thorough understanding of Srimad Bhagavatam. He wrote this. You know, Bhagavatam is such a scripture. Like one time, the verse, I think it's verse number 2. Dharma Prajuta Kadabota Paramonimba Shamsatan Vedam Vastamata Vastushvatabatam Mulana. Simon Bhagavatam Mahamuni Kitan Kiva Paraiswara Sado Ridi Abaritata Kitabatakishana. This verse, Salabaksidanta, he gave a lecture on this verse for 2 months. 2 months straight on this verse. And he did not repeat the same thing the next day. Just imagine, giving a lecture on one verse, and did not even repeat the same thing. He did not repeat next day. Just imagine. It's like more and more revelation, more and more revelation, more and more revelation. So you can just imagine that. So the book, the Sandarbhas, it gives us that opportunity to really have that deeper, the real understanding of what is Bhagavatam. It make us understand that what's Bhagavatam. This Sandarbha of Jiva Goswami. So there are 6 of them. One is Tattva Sandarbha. That's the first one. So which means it establishes Srimad Bhagavatam as the supreme evidence, Praman, the supreme evidence. And then the second one is called Bhagavad Sandarbha, which means one is the evidence, Praman, that Bhagavatam is, if you want to understand God, you have to study Bhagavatam. And then the second one is called Bhagavad Sandarbha. And what is the basis? The understanding of God, whereby it is distinguished between Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Just like the verse Vedanti Tattva Bheda, that this verse, actually the whole Bhagavad Sandarbha is based on this verse alone. The Bhagavad Sandarbha says it's a very big book. It's like, we have the translation. It's a big book like this. So the whole Bhagavad Sandarbha is based on this verse alone. Just imagine one verse, a whole book is written on one verse. A whole book is written. And then there's a Paramatma Sandarbha, which means if you want to understand the cosmology, the oncology, the ontology, everything like that. So it explains the Jiva and Maya. The Jiva, the constitution of the Jiva, and it's with the interaction with Maya, with the material energy. So the Paramatma Sandarbha is based on that. And then there's Krishna Sandarbha, which prove that Krishna is the supreme personality of God, the Swayam Bhagavan. So after understanding all this, understand this issue that the tattva, who is God, his various manifestations, the position of the living entities, and then what comes next? Bhakti. See, now these 4 Sandarbhas is Tattva, Bhagavat, Paramatma, and Krishna Sandarbha. This is dealing with, there are 3 divisions of Vaishnava theology. These 3 divisions are Sambandha, Abhidheya, and Prayojana. So Sambandha means knowing the relationship. What is our relationship with God? His creation. What's our relationship? Who are we? So that's Sambandha. All the Vaishnava philosophical work is always based on this only. It's always based on these 3 understanding only. So the Java Dharma of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the first 20 chapters is all dealing about Sambandha. The first 20 chapters. When he was teaching Sanatana Goswami in Varanasi, the first chapter 20, 21 of 22 of the Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's all dealing about Sambandha only, the relationship that living entities have with Krishna. And then when the Sandarbha is understood, what comes? Bhakti. This is called Abhidheya. Now, when you understand your relationship with Bhagavan, with the Lord, now what do you do? What do you do in that relationship? This is called Abhidheya. So there's Bhakti Sandarbha. I was fortunate to study this some years ago, this Bhakti Sandarbha. And it's just telling us that the Bhakti, it's just like Krishna is independent. Living is also independent. The Bhakti that is there between Jiva and Krishna, the Bhakti is also independent. And Bhakti comes on its own, which means, how do we get Bhakti? Bhakti actually comes on its own. Because Bhakti is a special feature of Krishna, it's independent itself. How does Bhakti comes? How do one attain Bhakti? So this is also explained very nicely in the Bhakti Sandarbha. And then when Bhakti is performed, and there is success, and then what comes? Priti. Priti means love of God. This is called prayojan. You don't do anything this for unless you know what's the purpose of what you are doing. What's the purpose? What is the goal? If you're doing something, you don't know why you are doing it, then so what does that mean? So when devotee perform bhakti, so there is the result of bhakti. The end goal of bhakti is love. It's love for God. Priti means love. And this love is not an ordinary thing. It's not just love. We're talking of, like substantial that bind the heart to the supreme Lord. The substantial, that love. And that love, there's just no materialistic expression that can deal with it. This love of God. So the Priti Sandarbha is dealing with this. So the Protestant thereby it established Krishna Prem, love of God, as the supreme goal of life. This is a prayojan. Prayojana means the end. So Sambandha, Abhidheya, and Prayojan. So which means all the writings of the Goswami is so based on these three principles only. And it's this principle that Chaitanya Prabhu taught when he was teaching Sanatana Goswami in Varanasi. You will find this in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya from chapter 20 all the way to 25. And Madhya you will find these teachings. And then another of his great contribution was the writing of a book. It's actually is a book that teaches grammar, that teaches Sanskrit grammar. So Srila Jiva Goswami wrote Harinamamrita Vyakaranam. This is actually one of my favorite books. This the writing of Harinamamrita Vyakaranam, the teaching of grammar. Now, normally, you are not considered a learned person unless you study Sanskrit. And Sanskrit, to study Sanskrit, normally it takes 12 years to really master Sanskrit. So which means, oh, it's like, how am I going to spend 12 years in studying Sanskrit? 12 years, that's a long time. So normally when many people, when they begin to study Sanskrit, after some time they actually give it up because it's so tedious and you have to memorize so many what do you call it? Panini is the famous Sanskrit grammarian in the ancient India, Panini. And he has wrote sutras, yes, sutras. He wrote like more than 4,000 sutras, which means first of all, you have to memorize these 4,000 sutras. You have to memorize them. It's there's so many. You have to memorize these 4,000 sutras. Now, if you memorize these 4,000 sutras, then you might have understood this Sanskrit grammar, because within all these sutras, the composition of Sanskrit grammar is there. By understanding them, then you'll be able to understand the Sastra, the scriptures. So Jiva Goswami sees that people, they often give up the whole idea of wanting to study Sanskrit grammar. So what to do? So Jiva Goswami, he recomposed Sanskrit grammar so that devotees can relish studying Sanskrit grammar. And he did this by explain every sutra according to the name of the Lord. So which means devotees, they can study the scriptures. I mean, they can study the grammar, but they actually be reciting various names of the Lord. And then by doing so, they will be remembering the Lord. After all, one has to always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. So in the vowels, he called them Sarveshwara. Sarveshwara. The vowels. In Sanskrit, there are 13 vowels. We start with A, E, O, E, like that. There are 13 vowels in Sanskrit, in vowels. And then the consonants. So the consonant, he called them Vishnujana. Vishnujana means the devotees, which means the men of the men of God, or less means the devotee Vishnujanas. And there are 33 consonants. There are 33 consonants. We start with we have 25 padas. Which means ka ka ga ga na, cha cha ja ja na, ta ta da da na, ta ta ma ma na, and sa sha ha. So they have it goes like that. The Sanskrit consonants. So now every one of them, he described them in terms of the name of the Lord. So that when you say, okay, Vishnu Jana, like this, Sam Mohini, so different names of the Lord that Srila Jiva Goswami composed. He wrote this one. So which means you able to study Sanskrit, but you're actually calling upon the name of the Lord. You call upon it just like when when you're chanting. Anytime you chant, you're the remembrance of the Lord. So by studying the Sanskrit, you are remembrance of the Lord by studying it. So this is very great, immense contribution that Srila Jiva Goswami wrote. So there are many other aspects of his teaching. And then and of course, because this book, this I've studied with the understanding the 5 philosophical. There's actually the Sandambas, you will find them in many universities in the world. They actually undertake especially those who are doing like a PhD, the graduate student. They actually take up the study of the Sandarbhas. So many, but again, to study the Sandarbhas is not, if you really want to understand, you cannot understand by going to university. You cannot have a real understanding. Because while we're studying this book, we are studying this book so that you can become devotee. But you cannot become devotee by going to the university. So I never, but you want to study the knowledge, you have to a Vaishnava. What's that? It's a Yaha Bhagavata Pada, Vaishnava Stane, Ekanta Asya Koro Chitaicharane. If you want to understand Bhagavatam, then you have to approach a Vaishnava. Why? Because the Vaishnava, they have taken shelter of the Lord. You have to take shelter, of the Vaishnava. So this is some of the gist of Srila Jiva Goswami's contribution. And there are many notes which I put here, but those notes, if I had to go through all of them, we can spend the whole night. But we have to be eternally grateful to Srila Jiva Goswami, what he had given us. He's one of the Manjaris. So his deity is called Radha Damodara, that's his deity. So when you come to Vrindavan, you go to Radha Damodara temple. Srila Prabhupada stayed there. Actually, Srila Prabhupada was living there before he came to the West to start the ISKCON. So the deity of Jiva Goswami is called Radha Damodara. It's very, now the original deity is serviced in Jaipur, but the temple is very nice, wonderful. It's one of the places of pilgrimage in Vrindavan. So Srila Jiva Goswami lived for 85 years, and then he passed away in 1598. That's when he left the planet. But once it's according to the writing of Srila Kavi Kanapo, Srila Jiva Goswami was one of the Manjaris. Manjaris are those special friend of Radha, special servant of Radharani, who makes the intimate pastimes of Radha Krishna possible. So this Manjar, I think his name is Manjari, I forgot his Manjari name. That's one of the Manjaris that who are there in the association of eternally there in the association of Radha and Krishna. So even though we say, yeah, we're celebrating the disappearance day, but disappearance, as I think I gave a lecture at the beginning of this month about the disappearance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Disappearance does not mean that it's not a death. No. The personality is simply leave our vision, our mundane vision, to go and then join their eternal loving relationship with Radha and Krishna. That's what it means. So that's what we have to always understand. And that's why the Vaishnavas celebrate Disappearance Day of great personality, great devotees. We observe them because when we observe those days and we are remembering the activities, then that observance That remembrance enables us to be Krishna conscious. It actually nourished our bhakti. It nourished our bhakti when we are in remembrance of those particular days. So thank you very much for listening. So maybe some questions or somebody want to add something, you can please go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, as always. lots to digest on this amazing devotee, Srila Goswami. Dear devotees, if anyone may have questions, reflections, remarks, comments you may want to ask or share, please indicate by using the hand emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to ask your question or share your reflections. Hare Krishna.
If anybody have anybody have read any of the book of Srila Jiva Goswami, maybe you can share what kind of realization you've had in reading any book of Srila Jiva Goswami.
Prabhuji, one question I have is, I would like to know how the Goswamis disappeared, particularly since today is the disappearance of Srila Jiva Goswami. How exactly did he disappear?
I mean, normally they will just, enter samadhi, close their eyes, and then that's it. It's no particular. First of all, they don't have material body. It's not that they have material body, they were sick, and then this, no. Such a thing is there. They decide, okay, when to close their pastime, they close their, existence in the material world. So they become unmanifest. They just enter samadhi and that's it. And then they put their body into samadhi. And at those samadhis, they always energetic. I think it's like Bakim Thakur saying that we cannot, those samadhi, they're always there to assist the sadhakas, the practitioners. They're always there to assist. It's actually mentioned that one should go to samadhis and those samadhis and do spiritual practice around them, like the chanting and all that. They're actually there to assist. They are there to actually assist the practitioners, the sadhaka, the serious devotees. So they are not ordinary samadhi. Yeah, the disappearance is not that they were sick. No, they just close their eyes and then go. That's what they did. They close their eyes and just, they no longer talk to us. I witnessed that before when Srila Gogoina Maharaj passed away. He wasn't sick. He just closed his eye and then, okay, so everybody chanted, and then that's it. His body became, the body became lifeless, his material body. So, it happens like that.
Oh, Prabhuji, I've heard it the past time. Were you there personally?
Yes, I was there. I was personally
Wow.
in Mayapur.
Wow.
1996.
I've heard the past time.
Yeah, the most amazing thing.
Well, thank you for sharing. One other question I have about Srila Jiva Goswami is, how were the two uncles, Sanatana and Rupa Goswami, how did they relate with Jiva Goswami, being a nephew and at the same time, like you rightly said, a disciple of Rupa Goswami? Yet all six of them were considered to be the authorities of the Vaishnava Sampradaya at that time. How did the uncles relate with their nephew and disciple at the same time, all of them being Vaishnava authorities?
First of all, the Rupa and Sanatan being the eldest, and after Jiva completed his training, then Rupa and Sanatan they left the planet. So after that, then shortly thereafter, Gopal Bhatta, Raghunath Bhatta, Raghunath Das, they left. So Jiva Goswami became the undisputed, he became the leader of the Vaishnava community. So it's not that they were all there at the same time. They were not there at the same time. And of course, the Rupa and Sanatan, they were always very, very affectionate to their nephew. Because after all, their younger brother, he was Anupama. But Anupama, he passed away. So he did not, because they were actually, three of them were coming to Vrindavan, and Anupama passed away on the way to Vrindavan. So Anupama, who was the father of Jiva Goswami. So he passed away early. But others, it was Rupa Goswami, of course, who ensured the education of Jiva Goswami. He ensured his education and leave proper fund behind for him to conduct his education and all that. So so affection is always there. So which means you have the material relationship, then you have spiritual relationship. Of course, Jiva Goswami was always very, very referential towards his revered uncle. Was always very, very referential towards them. He considered them his life and soul, and all his teaching was all based on preserving the teachings of Rupa and Sanatan. So all his teachings is based on preserving their teachings. You see. So yeah, and after I finished teaching the training, Narottam Das Thakur, Shamananda, Srinivasacharya. So and then he sent these three persons with the books of Rupa and Sanatan, with all their books. He sent them to go and go copy and distribute them in east of India, in Bengal. There's a very, very nice story of that. We put this in our book, Prema Vilas. It's also there in the Bhakti Ratnaka also. So this book, it described how the books were taken to East Bengal, but they were stolen on the way. And then the person who stole them, so he became devotee. It's a very nice, wonderful story. So Bhakti Ratnaka, maybe you should try to get the book, the Bhakti Ratnaka. It's a book that describes the histories of the Vaishnav saints. The devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Well, I must say I have read bits and pieces of the Sandarbhas, and I must say it is way above my head. So I mean, I love to read, but it's not so easy for me to, especially like the writings of Bhaktisiddhanta also. I find his writings to be very technical. It's like
they're very, very high philosophy. That's
very high.
That's why it requires a teacher. You need somebody to guide you. You need a guide. Otherwise, it becomes very tedious. And you have to have desire for it. Yeah. But I know that in ISKCON, when we joined, the emphasis was never based on study. The emphasis was always based on work, book distribution. That's always it's always the emphasis. It was it was just only it's only at late it was later on that we started putting emphasis on education. Devotees should be educated in terms of spiritual education. But before you join, go and do service, go to them. So, so therefore devotees, they don't have so much enthusiasm in studying all these things, unless someone have their own particular inclination themselves. Somebody have to have a particular intuition, their own intuition to study. Otherwise, most devotees not, because the fabric of the society was never geared towards that. That's always not the fabric of the society. Whereas in the old Vaishnava community, in the old Vaishnava community, when someone comes to the fold, the focus also being, the person also being that, yeah, the person must be educated first in the process, must understand the theology, must understand. Because this theology that sustains you as a devotee. You chant better rounds, well, if you understand the philosophy of the Goswamis, you chant better rounds because you know what you are doing. In terms of the chance of falling, in terms of not succumbing to sense gratification, the ammunition. So this writings, it enables us, it gives us, it equips us to deal with that. We say, okay, we say that we want to be spiritual warrior, but how are you going to be spiritual warrior if you don't have weapon? You got to have weapon to be a spiritual warrior. But we are talking about spiritual warrior, but we don't have weapon. You just have your beer. The weapon is the sastra, the scriptures, and the advanced association. That's the weapon. Then you can be a spiritual warrior. So
yeah. I wholeheartedly agree with you, because I remember, even though I'm not one of the very old devotees, but when I joined, there was not much emphasis on studying. It was all about book distribution, Harinam, and even the book you're distributing, you don't actually know what is inside the book, but you are distributing the book. But luckily for me, by Guru Krishna's grace, I immediately developed interest in Bhagavatam. Not so much about Bhagavad Gita, but I had so much interest in Bhagavatam that I started reading it, and I just couldn't stop reading it. That is, I would say, my fortune.
We all read Bhagavatam, only by our own intuition, not because of not because of the organization. The organization simply means go and work, go distribute good, but only by your own intuition. Okay, I must spend a few times hours a day and study Bhagavatam, do my rounds, Bhagavatam, read, and then go out and do your service. So anyway, because it was beginning time, the society was beginning, was pioneering and all that. But unfortunately, those devotees who are in the initial pioneers, so then they become victim of material energy. So you have like a majority, left the fold. They could not withstand the fighting of the onslaught of material energy of Maya. Because there was no initially there was no strong ammunition initially in terms of the sound understanding of the philosophy. That understanding was not there. And that's the truth. Devotees were never encouraged to study. That is true. Apart from Bhagavatam class, Bhagavad class. And who's giving Bhagavatam class? Devotee like you, who don't know anything.
Yeah.
So, people give Bhagavatam class. A person today, and then by next week, you say, oh, give Bhagavatam class. What does he know?
Yeah.
But you say, okay, go. Because he has to do some training. But he don't, He said somebody has to do some training in Bhagavatam class. You even know what is Bhagavatam? What kind of training is that? But that is the way we are grown up. That's the way we are grown up. So every devotees it's like by their own intuition, then they survive, let's say, people that way. So, Prabhu, want to say something?
Yeah.
Prabhu, I always want to hear from you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. This is
Hare-
Samambo
Hare Krishna.
Right, all glory to Prabhupada, all glory to the Son. Thank you very much. We always drink the nectar of the past times from you. So we are very grateful. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Uh, just your just a cue from your last statement that we are not very much encouraged to study, and at the same time, those who give the classes are also more or less neophytes. Right, that's true. But the very principle, the very principle, whether you are 100 years inside the movement, whether you're just coming, our principle is to repeat what we've heard. Right? Of course, realization may not be that much, but at least if we listen attentively and we repeat what we've heard, yes, then we are also in line with the parampara. Well, why I'm saying this, Prabhu, is because I had one devotee, very senior devotee, uh, at the time there was a need for a temple president. And then this senior devotee was telling the potential candidate for the temple president when the guy said, well, I really don't have much training, so how can I assume this service? And this senior devotee, who were actually the authority in that place, so we were also not trained. And I was shocked because whatever we knew, we didn't bring it from home. You know, whatever little we knew, we didn't bring it from home. So there's some training there. If we're listening attentively and we're doing what we are told to do, and we're repeating what we've been told, that's Prabhupada said, just repeat what I said, just repeat what you've heard. And if we do that sincerely, Krishna comes true. Because in reality, one other thing I also learned is that the person who is speaking, he's actually, the knowledge is not coming from him, no matter what is his level. The knowledge is not coming from him. The knowledge is coming through him. He is a media. So, and we are all open to be media for the knowledge to come true if we're sincere. So, well, that's just what I want to say, so that people don't repeat what you're saying. You may not mean that, but people get this idea, oh, we're not trained. But I don't agree to that. I think we were trained. It may not be systematically, but whatever we knew and whatever we're doing is what we have received from our superiors. That's our training. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And we just have to understand the deeper aspect of what I'm talking about. That I mean, there's a big difference of if a new devotee says something about a verse in Bhagavatam, same verse, and a senior person also said the same thing on the same verse. It's a big difference, because somebody who have experienced, have heard the authorities, have read, imbibe, have realizations, and also actually practice what has been said. So there's a definite fundamental difference. So is always there. I mean, of course, I mean, I've been in the movement now for almost 50 years. I know that when we first began in the beginning, it's like, okay, I mean, I can say just practical experience. Like many of us, like when I joined the movement, that time ISKCON was very, very young also. No devotee in the movement was in the movement for more than 10 years in the movement, no devotee in the ISKCON society. And in my temple in Lagos, when I joined this, the moment I just came there, everybody was new. Everybody was new. Even devotees who had come from America to help Srila Bhakti Maharaj and Brahmana Prabhu. Everybody was there maybe 2, 3 years old, 3, 4 years old in the movement. They were not, they were not like old devotees. So, but of course, now the thing is that I would say what propelled us was the faith that we all had, the faith. Because coming to Prabhupada's movement, so we had this faith that, okay, they take the holy name, you know, so the thing was the faith. So it's not so much, which means it wasn't so much in terms of what we've learned, but it is that faith. Even though you're asked to give class as a new person, you may not have so much to say, but it could be, let's say, the expression of faith. I know that the first time I was asked to give class, maybe I was in the moment, maybe 4 or 5 months. And I think I barely finished reading Bhagavad Gita, barely finished reading it. And so, which means a lot of stammering, you know, it's, you know, it's there. It's, you know, but at the same time, I remember, because I like to read, so I remember when I was, they asked me to give class, so I was simply keep on reading Prabhup's purport and some other references, just reading. I remember both Prabhu say, "Oh, Ishmael like to read that time." Actually, not yet Ishmael yet, just Dr. Ishmael. Say, "Oh, you just like Jodita Swami. You like it because just reading." So, but the main thing is the faith that we had. That faith that was the major force that time was the faith that we had. It was the major driving force. That it's not so much in terms of what we learned that time, is the faith. But as time goes on, then to solidify that faith, then knowledge is required. Real knowledge is required. But again, many devotees in the movement, they become casualties, could not withstand the assault, the Maya assault, could not withstand it. I'm sure you can relate that to you can relate that yourself. So you cannot withstand the assault. When I was in Lagos, we had about more than 20 devotees. They were with us. But by the time the initiation time came, only 3 of us left remaining. Only 3 remaining. Myself, Omkara, and another devotee from Ghana, Dr. Paul. And then we had new set of people who had just joined us, and at that time, I remember Patipa coming and said, "Okay, I'm going to give everybody initiation, even though they just come into the door." Whatever I say, I'm going to give all initiation. So not just 3 of us who are recommended. And then we have a bunch of guys like, Kalidas or this guy there, even though they just walk into the door. Whereas we've been around for more than 3 years. Anyway, a lot of stories there. I think I'm going to write a book. I have to see who's going to read it. So.
Yeah, Prabhu, please, if you allow me, just a follow-up. So yes, you're right when you said faith actually is the driving force. However, we can have the same mindset and then be choosy about whom we want to listen to, thinking that this person may not have enough knowledge, that person may have. But I think that the spiritual transmission doesn't come through that way. The spiritual transmission of knowledge is how much the person who is delivering makes himself available as a transparent via media. You just mentioned the name of Kalidas Prabhu. When we joined, he was an inspiration. He would quote like anything from Bhagavad Gita. I mean, it was just new also, like you rightly said, he was such a fantastic preacher, and very proud also to be a preacher, But of course, he's gone. And many people like that who, when they were growing up, they became enamored with the knowledge. But what I'm trying to say, Prabhu, is that book knowledge is not enough. So many people, we may have, whether advanced devotee or neophyte devotee, who are very much into book knowledge, but the realization is zero. That's why they will rather take shelter of society politics in order to be able to remain, but their faith is very shallow. So we've seen that also. So I mean, I wouldn't mind hearing anyone who wants to speak Bhagavatam because I never can tell what Krishna is going to reveal to me through that person. So I think it's not a matter of years. I mean, like, you know better, Prabhu. You know better what I'm trying to say. So it's not the age and it's not how much you've read, but actually how sincere you are to be a transparent via media. Sorry that I talk too much, Prabhu. You just
No,
allow me to, you
okay.
give me.
Well, as they say, in order to speak Bhagavata, one has to be person Bhagavat. There's a Granta Bhagavat and there's a Bhakta person. There's a book Bhagavat and a person Bhagavat. One has to be, one has to be person in order to properly communicate. And of course, we know that is the practice that is most essential. Like Chaitanya Prabhu said, talking about achar, and then there's prachar. Achar means the behavior, and then the prachar means the teaching, the preaching. Prachar means to teach. The behavior has to be there, which means one has to be Vaishnavas, which means an idealistic Vaishnav who actually have the quality of a Vaishnav. And then when it's a Vaishnav, then you can preach, be a Vaishnav preacher. So that when one preaches, it's the fundamental of become very, which means the truth through via media is that is coming from being a real Vaishnava, which means an idealistic Vaishnava, so that the communication it goes naturally, it has effects on people. That yes, being a book knowledge, that's one thing. I know that people say this a lot, that this person just have, you can quote so many slokas, but at the same time, it's not behaving properly. So which means one can have this knowledge and the same time also is not having proper cultivation. Because the reason that one have this knowledge, but the cultivation has to be there, which means, the development must be there, the internal development must be there. Otherwise, what's the purpose of having knowledge and then you're not changing yourself? That was the purpose of having this knowledge. Like a good study, there was one time when one lady, she went to one big guru. So she went to one big guru, and then she asked the guru that he told the guru that the guru should tell her son to stop eating sweet. Tell her son to stop eating sweet. So the guru said, okay, you come after 2 days, you come back with your son, and then I will tell him. So when the lady came by the next day or so, so then the guru tell his son that, you should stop eating sweet. So the lady then asked the guru that, well, you saw him yesterday. Why didn't you tell him this? Why didn't you tell him yesterday? So Guru said, because yesterday I was eating sweet, so I cannot tell him to stop eating sweet. So I have to stop eating sweet in order to tell him to stop eating sweet. So in this way, achara has to be, in order to do proper prachara, there has to be achara. The behavior must be there. So that's why they're actually taking shelter of Krishna consciousness, taking what we are learning in our own practice. That is that's most essential. And that's how, as one grows in Krishna consciousness, and one is actually sincerely taking shelter of the law. So what we are reading, what we are studying in the book, actually become part of our natural development. So therefore, a devotee look different, not just because of his learning, but because of his cultivation. So therefore, Krishna consciousness is a constant practice. It's a constant endeavor. Krishna consciousness is a constant practice. And that's why we take shelter of the previous acharyas. We take shelter of the previous acharyas. We sing their song. We read about their life. We study about life. Just like today we're hearing about Jiva Goswami. By hearing about their life, then it enables us to consider, to see how we can start, learning something from their life that can be applicable to us. So the philosophy of Krishna consciousness is not about having some high and dry knowledge. I mean, I've seen so many wonderful devotees, highly scholarly devotees, then they've gone by the wayside. They've gone. But at the same time, they've gone by the wayside, but at the same time, Krishna says, Kunteya Pratijanahi Name Bhakta Initiative. Krishna telling Arjuna that Arjuna, you should tell everyone, my devotee will never perish. Which means the moment one takes shelter of Krishna, even though one may go away for going to the Maya, still the person will never, because the person have tasted the essence of Krishna and have chanted the holy name of Krishna. So eventually the person will come back. I mean, me living here in Vrindavan, I've seen many, many devotees who have like been gone for decades and decades. All of a sudden they just showed up. I said, oh, where have you been? Where have you been all this year? They just showed up all of a sudden. I've seen many, many devotees, like so many, many devotees. I said, where have you been all these years? Some devotees I remember some devotees. Last time I saw the person was 40 years ago. All of a sudden he showed up in Vrindavan. So we have many, many of those situations. Again, yes, it's not a question of book knowledge. And when I'm talking, of course, I don't encourage no book knowledge, but I do encourage study under the shelter of advanced person. That's what I can, that's what I emphasize, that we have to study and under the shelter of advanced person. Because the book we are studying is not the ordinary knowledge, it's not the ordinary book of knowledge. Scriptures are not, it's not a method. Scripture, they're actually living. They are living entity themselves. The Vedas are living entities. So what are we studying? It's not some dry mundane knowledge that we are studying. You know.
Hare Krishna.
You wanted to say something again, ISVARA Prabhu?
Wait.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for taking your time. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. I appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah, first.
I think it's a very nice educational interaction. Probably do you still have a couple more minutes? We've been here for longer than usual, but Hamsadutta has his hand up.
Yeah, you can ask.
So Hamsadutta Prabhu, please give me on mute. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Your Grace. Please can you accept my request? It's all glory to God, Krishna Prabhupada. All glory to wonderful activities, and all glory to you. Thank you for the wonderful class. Forgive me for taking your time, and also forgive me because my question does not relate to the class, but I want to help you to understand something. I'm watching this series about Mahabharata, Kurukshetra, and the Pandava sons, they were brutally murdered, but this particular one, which catches my attention, I was just watching and say, oh, especially Arjuna's son, Abhimanyu.
Yeah.
My question is, he know how to break through the army because the father was telling the mother when she was pregnant with him, but he didn't know how to come out and he was totally trapped. And all these warriors, 8 warriors, was brutally beating this boy, torturing him with all their weapons and before killing him. And my question is, why did they have to go through all that? All this, they can easily kill him. But why do they have to torture him like that? All these warriors to torture this boy, and his grandfather was standing there, and even they are his uncle. So my question is, what is his offense? Maybe he did something in his past life to go through this sufferness or something. I just don't understand. That's why I'm asking this question. Please forgive me. Hare Krishna.
First of all, his grandfather was not there. His grandfather was Virat Maharaj.
Oh, okay.
Because he was fighting on behalf of the Pandavas.
Yeah.
The Mahabharata story.
Yes.
There are many things, many episodes that sometimes doesn't make sense because we started, oh, why this? This doesn't make any sense at all. After Abhimanyu happened to be Krishna's nephew. Abhimanyu is Krishna's own nephew, which means he was not an ordinary person. He was not a material being, he was a spiritual being. Because he was son of Subhadra. And who's Subhadra? Subhadra is Devi, it's Yogamaya. It's, you know, we do Jagannath worship all the time. Jagannath.
Yes.
Subhadra. Abhimanyu was the son of Subhadra. And then he was killed. So many stories are there in Mahabharata that sometimes it make us wonder, you know, why things. But you know that all those so-called warriors who like engineered the murder of Abhimanyu, of course, they were all similarly killed. All of them were killed similarly also. See, if you start asking why, then your head will break. Why? So your head will break. You know, Abhimanyu, why? But your head will break apart. You know. But again, the play of the Lord sometimes is difficult to understand how the Lord acts. I mean, you know that just like when Arjuna, when he made the promises that by tomorrow's sunset, I must kill this Jayadratha. Jayadratha was the person, because Jayadratha, he performed austerity to Lord Shiva. He pleased Lord Shiva that he wanted to be able to cause the death of one of the great generals of the Pandavas on the battlefield. He wanted to be able to cause the death of one of the great generals on the battlefield. So Lord Shiva, he granted him the benediction, this Jayadratha. So when Abhimanyu, when he broke the rank of the Kauravas, he broke the rank. There was this Chatuvirya. Chatuvirya is this battle formation. So Abhimanyu broke the rank, but he knows how to get inside, but he doesn't know how to get inside.
Yes.
He doesn't know how to get inside. So when he broke the rank, even though the Pandavas, they were actually there, you know, like Yudhishthira Maharaj was there, Bhima was there, Sahadev and
Nakula.
they all there. But Arjuna was not there because Arjuna knew how to get inside. Arjuna knew. So Jayadratha was able to prevent, because of the benediction he had from Lord Shiva. So he was able to prevent the Pandavas getting inside. He was able to, because of the benediction he received from Lord Shiva. So does that mean that Lord Shiva was on the side of the bad guys?
No.
So no, so it's just one of those amazing activities, amazing episode that we cannot just utilize our material intelligence to understand that why. So you find when you study the Vedic scriptures, especially the histories, you will have so many why that it will just be mind-boggling. It will just be mind-boggling. So many. So the episode of Abhimanyu being killed by the Kauravas. So it's one of those mind-boggling experience that, and then it also showed the amazing power of Krishna, the amazing power of the Lord, because after Arjuna, he made a promise that, yes, this Jayadratha must be killed tomorrow before sunset. And the battle was going on the next day, and this sunset it was being protected by all the great generals of the Kauravas. And the sunset was coming, and he was not getting killed. And Arjuna had made a promise that if I don't kill this guy if this guy is not there by the sunset, he will enter the fire. So the sunset was coming, and when the sunset was coming, so the Kauravas, they were celebrating that now Arjuna is going to go enter the fire because this Jayadratha was not getting killed. But guess what? Krishna plays on trick. He simply uses Sudarshan Chakra. He makes sure the sun does not set. The sun does not set. After all, Krishna is the is the one person behind the sun. You know? Krishna is, when we say Surya Narayana, is Krishna behind. So Krishna uses Sudarshan Chakra that the sun does not set. And then Jadratha was killed. And immediately Jadratha was killed, then the sun set. So in this way, the Lord manifests his own supreme, mystic power to make sure that Arjuna's vow was fulfilled. So, many things are there in the Mahabharata. We tell so many stories, and but the main focus of the Mahabharata is about the Lord and his devotees. How the Lord is the center of his devotees' life. Like that.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Yeah, so many why are you not getting answer? Don't be disturbed by it.
Okay, thank you. Because I was just wondering that maybe one of them could have killed him earlier than to all them to beat him, to torture him like that. So thank you so much. Thank you for the answer. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
And also, you have to know that the movie is also entertainment also. So don't have so much faith on the movie you're watching. It's also entertainment. So,
okay, thank you.
a lot of dramatic things also there in the movies. So.
Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, dear devotees, we thank you all. His Grace Ishwara Prabhu, thank you so much as always for enlivening us with this katha of Jiva Goswami. Dear devotees, we are going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute yourselves, and we all chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our deepest appreciation to our revered speaker, His Grace Ishwara Prabhu, for sharing his love and wisdom with us all. Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mancha kalpa tarabhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Grace Ishwara Prabhu ki jai. Jai Shri Mahotsava Jiva Goswami ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Hare Bol.